Hello, everybody. Welcome to TCI Wednesday night here in Marysville, Washington. A little 15-minute quick message. As you all know, we have church on Wednesdays here the way Jesus did. The original way a church service was supposed to be done.
Hallelujah.
You hear the audience. No, Jesus never met in a church building, and he didn't build no $1 million sanctuary. He never had a building fund. I never once heard Jesus say, hey, I need to have our guys go and do a building fund to build something. He never did that. He just did what he did. And if his words were moving, people got moved, and they decided to give. So if you're part of our ministry and you think, gosh, you guys are really changing people's lives, feel free to get a hold of us and find out how you can donate. There's a million ways. I can't tell you all of them, but there's buttons and links.
How do they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of us and all this stuff. So we love you guys. If you really want to get active, man, we're changing people's lives one person at a time. We are the church. That is correct. It's not a building. It's the people. The message today is actually the last few weeks I've had a couple people fill in for me, and I want to pay special homage to right now. Justin, thank you for coming and taking over and being with the guys and sharing some wisdom. I actually got reports and everyone enjoyed the talk. Justin is a very dear friend, and he gave a message. Most of you know I just had a heart surgery on sometime last week, and it was an emergency surgery. It wasn't a planned thing.
Did you say just a heart surgery?
Yeah, just a heart surgery. And they went in and found out that my heart, it's bad. I wish I could say another way. It's not good. There's no good news. Let's put it that way. It's bad news all around. And I got another surgery next Wednesday coming up. That's a pre-cancer thing where they're trying to go in and make sure I don't have a new tumor growing back, and they want to cut that out and any of the stuff that's in there. But now that doctor's considering that he's not going to do the surgery because of how bad my heart is, because he doesn't think I'll make that surgery. So in about 4 weeks, we sure could use some prayers. Right now, getting up the stairs actually it takes it all out of me. Getting up to even just walk. I think I walked for I don't remember how long, but it was like a few minutes, and it just feels like you're carrying an elephant. So for the next few weeks, thank you all for your prayers and all the love. That actually is part of this message, is because I actually was, as you all know, I've been broadcasting through the surgery and everything. And the message I want to talk about is how to walk through fear. So how do you walk through fear? And anyone that knows me knows I fear nothing. I don't fear anything. I'm scared of things. There's a difference. Fear is an emotion that can get inside of you and control you. Being scared is a very good thing. One of the men in our church, Jesse, I'm teaching him how to drive. And he did something bad one day at the stop sign, and he almost got in a major accident. Now, luckily we didn't. And that was when he was first starting. And when it was done, I looked at him and I said, how do you feel right now? And he was shaking. He goes, I'm scared. And I said, good. Drive scared. That scared little gut scare feel you got right there, that's a good thing. The day you don't have that, that's really when you should be cautious. So being scared is a good thing, but being fearful is not. So we're going to talk about fear. The word fear is F-E-A-R. Now there's two ways I look at fear. False evidence appearing real. F-E-A-R. False evidence appearing real. That's one thing. So there are fears that come at us and we think, oh God, I'm fearful of that. That's actually not a real thing. It's false evidence appearing real. And we allow it to control us. And then there's real fear. And I'll be honest with everyone, I haven't had real fear since I was 12 and a half, 13. That was the last time I felt fear. I was in a ghetto. I was a white kid in an all-black ghetto. Yeah. I think we had 6 or 7 other white people there, tops. And that's including my 6 family members that were 5 that were white. There wasn't a lot of white people in this place. And I was just a boy. And I didn't know violence. I was not known as the beast. I was a kid, a little kid, not a big kid, not a 15, 16-year-old kid, a kid. I was 12 going on 13. And I had to join a gang. You say, nah, you did. You had choices. Not if you lived where I lived. You didn't have a choice. I guess you did. I did have a choice. I could choose to get beat up still every day, and it was really old. So I chose not to, and I chose to get into a gang. So I picked the gang that was in the complex that divided it in 2 regions. It was huge, huge ghetto. And the back section was where we lived, of course, the dangerous part. Cops wouldn't even come in at nighttime. If you had a murder, the cops would not come until it was either daylight or they had full tactical SWAT with helicopters. So it was a place where, I remember the day we moved into this place, Mom pulled out, and she's driving a brand new Suburban, fully loaded, Tennessee edition, the Chattanooga edition is called. Most expensive one you could get. And the old man was a mega millionaire and helped finance this place and all this stuff for the church. And we're driving out, and the cop pulls us over. And he looks at my mom, and I'm thinking, this lady's like a saint, right? She doesn't even swear. And all of a sudden, he's like, what are you doing here? You buying drugs? She's like, I live here. You live in there? And right when he said that, I thought to myself, I'm screwed. When the cops tell him they don't even want to go in there, it's not a place you want to go. And I was terrified. I was fearful every day. And I never wanted to feel that fear again. So I chose the bad route. I chose the gang. And there was a very evil man. And most of you have heard the story before, but they did an initiation and we went through all of that. Think you're in the gang, but you're not. There's another thing that the head guy wanted to do to prove to people that he's the boss. So he put 3 guys down on their knees. We were all about the same age. I think the guy that died was maybe a half a year older than me. Walks up. I was kneeled here. Don't know the guy's name next to me, and my friend Dove was, and it's actually his name, Dove. He was there. Guy put a revolver, loaded it, spun it, put it in the back of my head, and pulled the trigger. Click. I relieved myself right then and there. Went to the next kid, pulled the trigger, blew his head off. Looked at my friend Dove and said, guess you don't have to worry, there's no more bullets. And this was a horrible man, and he needed to go. So I was very intelligent. I was born with a very good IQ. I was born with smart parents. I was very educated. My summers I spent with my father in Fortune 500 company boardrooms. So I knew how to do reverse acquisitions and hostile takeovers and all kinds of things that people don't learn until after they get a master's degree. I did that stuff when I was a boy. So for me, I looked at the scenario as a business, and that's how I pitched it. But no one wanted to get rid of the boss. So the boss went away, and there became a new boss, and that was me. And no one, and that's as much as I can say about that legally. But I never feared since that time in my life. Never. Because I refused to allow anybody to ever make me fearful again. And I was in the hospital, and my beautiful partner in life, Miss Cece, the first lady of the church, was there, and she's like, you okay? And I just started weeping because I was terrified. I was fearful. And it wasn't the false evidence appearing real fear. This is the real deal. It's serious. And they bring in all the medical people, and they're telling you how bad your tubes are in your heart and how you got a nice one, and then it's like this, and there's only a couple people that could do the surgery, and no one wants to touch you, and blah, blah, blah. And it all of a sudden hit you. I'm not immortal. I'm not immortal. Because up until then, I lived a life where I was immortal. So I'm going to read from the Bible. That is what had me come up with a story to share with you guys. In the book of Daniel, it's the Old Testament. This is the Jewish faith. And there's a difference between the Jewish faith and the Christian faith. And most of you know, coexist is everything. You know, you got the Muslims, the peace sign for the hippie-loving people, right? You got a male, a female, the Jewish. You got all kinds of different symbols representing different faiths. Don't mistake the Christian faith and the Jewish faith as the same. A man praying in the Old Testament was not praying to Jesus. Let's clarify that. He was praying to God, Jehovah, not Jesus. Okay? Now, we Christians, people that were raised in Christian faith, we like to claim the whole Bible as a Christian thing. It's not. The Old Testament is the Jewish faith. The New Testament is the Christian faith, and then there's a bunch that just throw it all in there. Well, I'm going to take this story and open up what happened and show you how a man modeled for us how to overcome fear. So in the book of Daniel, we'll start, let's see here. Here we go. The plot against Daniel. I want to start there. So in chapter 6, it says, it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps. That's like mayors. So 120 mayors. And they were to be over the whole kingdom. And then over those, there would be 3 governors. And Daniel was one of them. The mayors might give account to Daniel, the governors, and the other 2 governors, so that they can answer to the king, so the king would never suffer. Now, this is what Daniel figured out his chance to distinguish himself. So this guy is a Jew, and he's a prisoner. So he was taken, and in this culture, they made him a prisoner. Yet he rose through the ranks. See, he saw his situation and said, I'm not going to allow me being a slave to stop that. Now, I got black family, so when I'm going to say this about slavery, I might get some people upset. And you have to understand, I come from a black and white family. Some people want to stay in the mind of a slave. Well, I was a slave. My family were slaves. I heard a man once tell me this. I was a slave, and he was, in a country in Africa, a black man, in a black country, and he was a slave. And he said, but I'm no slave. I may be controlled. They might own my body, but my mind is free. Now, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So Daniel got that same thing. He's like, I'm a slave. Well, he could have pissed and moaned about it. No, man. He smiled. He said, okay, I'll be diligent with what I got. And he did. And the king made him a governor. Only 3 guys over the whole kingdom of that part of the world. So now you kind of get the feel. The other 2 guys were jealous. And the other 120 mayors hated them. They were all from one faith, one religion. And Daniel was this Jewish boy, Jewish man who loved God and faithfully prayed 3 times a day. Every day, 3 times, the same times, he would get up and he would open his window. He would face Jerusalem and he would pray. Funny, just like my dear Muslim friends. So here's Daniel being faithful. And he's praying, and every day, right? Now let's continue here. So these governors and the mayors thronged before the king. And I'm going to summarize this next part because it's a long paragraph. But what they did is they just told the king, hey, we need to make a law, king. You're the king. You're so great. Nobody should worship all their gods because there's a lot of gods at the time. Nobody should worship their gods more than 30 days. And if they worship their God more than 30 days without worshiping you once, they should all be executed. Wow. And all 120 mayors and the other 2 governors all agreed to, and they wrote a bill, a legislative bill, and they presented it to the king in honor of you. And the king's like, because he's a man like you, me, and everyone, and we make mistakes. And he's like, yeah, that's cool, man. So he signed it. And then he realized, oh my God, because the governors then came back the next day and said, so this guy Daniel, your favorite, he prays 3 times a day, and he's been doing it every day, and he hasn't prayed to you once. And in that kingdom, there's a law, and it actually says that once the law is made, not even the king can override the law. So he has to hold the law. So they tricked this king, and the king loved Daniel. So we go here again, and we say, now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went home. And forgive me, I am reading without glasses, so let me throw those on. I'm getting old. This getting old stuff ain't for the weak, I can tell you that. My buddy over here, he's laughing at me. He's like, I'm 60. Wait until you get that age. He went back to his room with his windows open toward Jerusalem. He knelt down on his knees 3 times that day. He prayed and gave thanks to God. He gave thanks to God, even though he knew he was about to get probably thrown and killed for this. And then the men assembled, went to the king, told the king all the news. Now the king then answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Persians, which does not alter. So they answered and said before the king, that Daniel, who is one of the captives from Judah, does not show due regard for you, O king, and you have to follow the law. They forced the king to throw him. So the king gave the command, and they brought Daniel. They cast him into the den of lions. And what I mean by a den of lions is here's actually what it was. It's an actual hole in the ground. And they threw lions in the hole. And then they would roll a stone on top of the hole, and they had like a cave, and it would be about the size of this whole living room, dining room, and the kitchen, and the bathroom area here. And there was a stone on top. And they would roll the stone back, throw a person in, cover the stone, next day come back, person's dead, beep, we did our job. That's what they did. So the king gave the command, and when the king spoke, saying to Daniel, here's what happens. Daniel, and cast him into this is the king saying this, and cast him into the lion's den. But the king spoke, saying, Daniel, your God, whom you serve continually, he will deliver you. Then a stone was brought, laid on the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring, took his ring and stamped it. And that purpose concerning Daniel might not be changed. Now, the king went to his place and spent the night fasting. That meant he didn't eat nor drink. He had no musicians come to his room. Also, his sleep went without him, so he didn't sleep at all that night. His friend is in the lion's den. Then the king arose very early in the morning. He went in haste to the lion's den. When he came to the den, he cried out with lamenting voice to Daniel. The king spoke, saying, Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve, continually been able to deliver you from the lions? Then Daniel said to the king, O king, live forever. Wait, I'm a slave and I'm telling the king to live forever? Huh, I don't know about you, but I might be like, why don't you come on in here for a second? Let me show you my buddies, Whoops, the king's dead. But then, O king lives forever, my God sent his angel and shut the lion's mouth so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. And also, O king, I've done no wrong before you. Now the king was exceedingly glad for him and commanded that they should take Daniel up and out of the den. So Daniel was taken up and out of the den, and no injury whatever was found on him, because he believed in his God. That scripture I have studied my whole life. We've all, if you've been to Christian churches, that was a preschool. They taught that in the kindergarten classes over and over. And then it hit me when I was staying in the hospital. I'm being told I'm not going to live. I'm being told that you're not going to make it. And the first time since I was 12, I'm fearful. And this ain't the false evidence appearing real. This is the next one. So what's the next fear? What does FEAR mean? Because I told you there's two fears, right? The next one, Daniel went in the den. That wasn't false evidence appearing real. That's a hole in the ground, a thing on top of it, and a couple hungry lions in this thing waiting for you. Now, I don't care if you're from the theological belief that this is a true story or a metaphoric story, because it doesn't matter. It's still the same. Here's the moral of the story. Daniel realized that he can fear, second version, which is where I'm at. You can face everything and rise. Fear stands for face everything and rise. Don't sit there and cower in the corner. Those lions will eat you. What lion do you have in your life right now is my question.
Wow.
You all know my lion. I'm staring at it. It's sitting inside of this chest right now, and it's not beating too strong. I've been out walking, and you guys know my work ethics. I am not a slacker. I can only walk a few feet, but I'm walking up and down the stupid hill. It's like 10 feet. Doctor told me I even sent a picture of the little slope. Can I do this? I didn't mention I was going to do it 100 times. Like, yeah, you can do that hill. So I went down and forth and back and forth like 100 times trying to get some. I can barely walk. It's real fear. So my fear is my heart. What is your fear? What is the fear that is you're going through? What lion are you looking at right now? Is it a marriage? Is it a relationship? Is it your own mind? Some of us got to get out of our own head. I've done it. I do it all the time. My partner will tell you how hard sometimes it is. She'll look at me and go, you know what? You should go take a walk to the mountains. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I can go to a mountain? Yeah, go. I don't realize she's seeing that I need to get out of my own head and clear my own mind. And so I'm thinking I'm all excited. I got to go climb a mountain. No, she just knows I got to get out of my own head. Sometimes maybe your lion is your head. Maybe it's DOC. Maybe it's being screwed in life. We all get taken advantage of, and we take advantage of people. Things happen. That's life. So when you see whatever that lion is in your life, you got only two choices. It's either false evidence appearing real, and what do I mean by that is this. Up until the actual diagnosis of this new heart condition I have, I say that because it's a new one of the 5,000. But here's the cool part. Up until then, it was false evidence appearing real. Look, I got a bad ticker. So what? Let's go. Let's keep going. It's just false evidence appearing real. I made the changes. I lost 280 pounds. I eat so healthy. She's the witness. I eat so healthy. Until tonight. Don't tell the doctor, but that hamburger helper thing was delicious. But the thing is that false evidence appearing real is like thinking like this. I know tomorrow it's coming and I got to go to court and I know I'm going to lose. Well, that's false evidence appearing real and you're manifesting it. So stop it. Face everything and rise means it's a real fear. And I am terrified. I ain't lying to you. I'm not terrified of dying because if you all know my story, I've kicked the bucket 3 times. So I know what's out there. It's not that. I have a calling in my life and I'm not done. I have things I want to do. I have grandchildren that I want to travel with and a future. And I have Jonathan's Refuge to expand and ignite. And we have TCI, our church, and I have pastors to train, and our companies, and my nonprofit, and our nonprofit, and my new trucking partner sitting across from us, and all these things. It's being blessed, and everything's good. I don't want to go. I'm here. I'm ready. Don't take me yet. I got fight left in these bones. But that's when you got to face everything and rise, gentlemen. And it's not easy. And I wish I could sit here and tell you it's easy. And I wish I could tell you I'm not going to cry about it, but I'm not going to lie to you. It's terrifying. In the next 4 weeks, I have to take that false evidence appearing real, which is this. You're going to die. There's truth to that. But that's still false evidence appearing real. They don't know if I'm going to die. They're just saying it's highly likely. Okay. Well, I'm not going to spend the next 4 weeks going, oh, this is it. Because they all told me the same thing. Go home, lay down on a bed, get up in the morning, go sit on your couch, watch TV all day, go home at night, go to sleep. And just do that for the next 4 weeks. She was laughing, and they're like, what's so funny? I'm like, that ain't going to happen. I'll give you 3 days. You get 3 days of that. And then after that, well, no, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. I'm going to face everything and rise. Now, I know I can't strap on my 75-pound stuff and get on it. But you know what I'm doing this Saturday? I'm going to go up to Mount Rainier at 5,300 feet and see how far I can go. And I'm going to push myself. Not beyond where I risk my life. I'm not talking that. I'm talking about pushing yourself to face everything and rise. So no matter what you're going through this week, let's embrace it, face it, and rise above it. I love you guys. God loves you. But before I go, real quick, Miss Cece, do you have anything to say to the world? Nope.
Not really.
Not really.
Keep the camera over there. I have one thing to share. Keep it over there,
Okay.
because the virtue and the honesty of your smile is so enriching, and sharing that alone is worth it. It's beautiful.
That's really
Thank you.
nice, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
We love you guys.